Today's prompt for the 31 Days of Tarot video challenge is how do you pick your decks for readings? So I have a couple different ways that I do this. I do a daily draw, and for that I typically use a deck that I've recently gotten that I'm trying to get to know. So for example, right now I'm working with the Slow Holler Tarot, and I will use that for my daily draws for at least a month because it's a deck that I'm loving. I really want to get to know it. I'm going to be working with this deck a lot, I can tell. So I'll use that for my daily draws for at least a month. And next on, I will move on to the Lioness Oracle Tarot for my daily draws because that's the next deck that I got that I really want to connect with. I really want to get to know. I want to enjoy. I want to work with that deck. And for me, one of the best ways to get to know a deck is through daily draws. So that's sort of a conscious, this is the deck that I'm going to use. If I'm doing a reading for something else that's not a daily draw, I will, first of all, I'll think about what type of reading am I doing? Am I doing a full moon reading? Am I doing a new moon reading? Because I do have certain decks that like to do those things, and so I'll go to the 2 or 3 decks that I feel most comfortable with for those types of readings, and I'll sort of ask who wants to raise their hand. And I'll pull all those out of my tarot box and sort of say, okay guys, who wants to do this full moon reading? And I'll hold my non-dominant hand over each of the decks, and what if my hand heats up or tingles over one of the decks, that's the one I'll use. Same thing when I'm doing client readings. I'll ask who wants to come out and do client readings, and I'll usually either get a really sharp, clear picture in my head of a deck, or when I stick my hand into the box, one deck will feel warmer or make my hand tingle or something like that, and that's how I choose decks for readings in that way. For the morning oracle message that I do on Instagram, I try to pick a deck sort of like the way I choose my daily draws for myself, only for the morning oracle message I choose a new deck every Friday. So I'll pick a deck that I haven't worked with in a while or that's new that I want to work with. Frequently I do choose decks that I carry in my shop because double duty, I get to take cool pictures that I can add to my website for my shop, and also I can sort of tell people like, hey, I have this deck and it's really cool, and if you've been thinking about how this deck works and what the messages are, here's an example of that. If I'm using tarot and oracle decks together for a reading, once I picked the tarot deck, which I always pick first, probably because I started using tarot long before I started using oracle decks, I'll think of a deck that is a good complement to the deck that I've chosen, either visually or message wise, or something that'll fill in the gaps of things that I'm not entirely sold on with this particular deck. Or sometimes I just have 2 decks that I think really like to work together. I don't know why. I like working with the Wanderer's Tarot and the Flowers from the Dead Oracle together because they're both black and white. I know some people would say, why would you not want to work with a brighter colored deck with one of those? That's, if I'm going black and white, I'm going black and white. Apparently they want to work together. That's how I do it. Really like working with the Wild Unknown and the Connected and Free Oracle together. I think they work together beautifully. I like working with Wooden Tarot and the Earthbound Oracle together. I know they're by the same artist, but they work incredibly well together. I also like working with the Earthbound Oracle with the Antique Anatomy Tarot, and I like working with the Oracle of Oddities with the Wooden Tarot. And I think that And I also like working with the Oracle of Oddities and the Antique Anatomy Tarot. So these things, so same artist, or crossing over. They have similar, not entirely similar vibes, but they're decks that a lot of people would see as a little more unsettling. And I kind of like that, and I kind of like how they work together. Sometimes I'll look at a deck and just think, wow, I haven't used that in ages. What does that feel like? Or if I'm really, if I'm sad or feeling kind of depressed or weak, not weak, but like low energy, I'll choose a deck that I know is very bright and uplifting. So those are some of the factors that go into how I choose a deck for a reading. So that is that. I don't know why this is hard for me to end. I feel like I'm supposed to be saying something else. There are decks that I have that I know I'm just never going to read with, that are just for collecting. And certain decks, I'll kind of ask them when I get them. Like, hey, are you a deck for reading, or are you a collection-only deck? And some of them are very clearly collection-only decks. And those go in a whole separate pile, or a whole separate box in the bookshelf. So there is that. But that is how I choose decks. And I'm interested to learn how you guys choose.